Greetings and welcome. How are we all feeling at the moment? Today's topic is on cognitive regulation, which is thought regulation, thought management, and it basically deals with the way you think, in what patterns you think, how habitual your thinking processes are. And through cognitive regulation, this is how we regulate our thoughts and our thinking processes. It's how we are able to manage what we're thinking, the intensity of what we're thinking, and the repetition of thoughts that we have on a daily basis. When we are looking at cognitive regulation, we are looking at being able to tolerate and manage our thinking and to be able to take control of our thinking processes. Cognitive regulation is extremely important because we become so overwhelmed by our thoughts and we find ourselves overthinking and we find our minds all over the place. We just really need to cognitively regulate. Remember, thought and emotion go hand in hand. Think about it. If you think a certain way, if you are angry or you are upset or something happened and you think about it and you think about, oh, I'm so upset, oh, I'm so angry, and eventually you'll start feeling that way. The more of what you think becomes more of what you feel. And just in that way, if you are feeling a certain way, if you're feeling down, your thoughts aren't going to be happy and positive. Your thoughts are going to be very down, you find yourself ruminating a lot, being stuck in your own mind. And the relationship between thought and emotion is very, very strong. And it's important that you realize what you think becomes what you feel, and what you feel becomes your mindset. And our thoughts determine our realities. The way you think about life, the way you think about people, the way you think about yourself, and the way you create these mindsets will determine how you see your reality, will determine how you internalize your reality. And what we think becomes truth for us, it becomes real for us because we feel it. And that's what cements its realism. And when you think a certain way, your mindset will be a certain way. And that's how you will view things. That is the lens through which you will see your perspectives on life, on people, on yourself, and on your experiences. Regulating thoughts also helps regulate mood. Same thing with emotion. If you can stop it by the thought, you can stop the emotional consequence. And then you can avoid the mood, because the more emotions you repeat, the more it becomes a state, the more it becomes a mood. And your thoughts heavily influence your mood, because when you're in a very depressed, down, sad mood, you're not going to think about, oh, I accomplished this today, I've done so well today. You're going to think, oh, what's the point of life? I don't care anymore. What's my purpose? And that's why thoughts, emotion, and mood make up a huge part of how you feel on a day-to-day basis, your mindset and your perspectives. And that brings me to your thoughts determine your perspective. The lens through which you see life is heavily controlled by the way you think. How you think will determine how you see things. What you accept as truths in your mind will become true in your reality. And that will decide your moral compass and what you think is right and what you think is wrong. Because our thoughts have a big role, they play a big role in how we view life, how we make sense of things, how we make meaning, how we create purpose, and how we add value to our lives. is heavily dependent on how you think. If you just change the cycle of your thoughts, you'll find yourself more positive, because that's the thing. Negative thoughts become habitual, they become a cycle, they become a normal part of your day, and that's what keeps you stuck, complacent, and in the mundane. Your thoughts are very important when you are regulating your state of mind, how you're feeling overall, what moods and emotional shifts that you are having through the day is all controlled by how you think. Because if you don't think positively, you won't feel positively. And another thing, we get so overwhelmed by our thoughts. We become so overstimulated by the things that are going on around us that there's so much noise up here. And we just start letting our minds run away with us. And here's this thought, here's this thought, here's this thought. And we just find ourselves on the roller coaster of our thought processes. You don't have to engage in every thought. Sometimes you can just acknowledge that it's there and decide not to engage in it. You can decide not to create an emotional reaction from that thought. It's possible to just let a thought pass you by. Just let it become part of your conscious awareness. You acknowledge it and you just let it pass you by. Because if you engage in every single thought that comes to your mind is going to be unnecessarily busy. You're going to create a lot of mental clutter, a lot of mental distress, and you'll find it difficult to cognitively regulate and to be able to manage your thinking and your thought processes. And that's the thing, we really do let our thoughts overwhelm us, because we always have thoughts, constantly, 24/7. That's how the brain works. And it's very difficult for us to not get overwhelmed by what's going on up here, especially if it's a lot of negative thoughts, a lot of sad thoughts, a lot of depressed thoughts, bad moods, down moods. Then we allow it to overwhelm us. We allow our minds to run away with us, and we become so overwhelmed that we can't emotionally regulate. We can't bring our emotions to a stable sense, a stable line. And we all have intrusive thoughts. Intrusive thoughts, interestingly enough, come from stress, anxiety, and other mental health conditions. And it can be very distressing and very worrying, especially in people who suffer from mental health conditions. Intrusive thoughts are a large part of many mental health conditions because of thought disorders and distorted thinking patterns and emotional reactions, and internalizing your reality might be a little bit different, so it can be a bit more difficult. But intrusive thoughts can be normal. Believe it or not, most of us, if not all of us, experience intrusive thoughts once in a while. It's just your brain's protective mechanism, and it can be perfectly normal. But as I say, you don't have to engage in every thought that comes to your mind. It's okay to acknowledge it and just let it pass you by. And how we think will determine how we make meaning. If we have a very negative thought process, we will struggle to make meaning from things in our lives. The small things that happen every day, or the things that add up, we don't acknowledge and we don't see, because we are not in the mental headspace to be able to make good, positive, and healthy meaning. And we all have negative thoughts. It doesn't matter how strong your mindset is, you will have negative thoughts. But it's about how we deal with them, how we choose to engage in them. If we not. And it's also about just reinforcing the positive thoughts. Cognitive regulation has a huge impact on your emotions, your mood, and how you internalize your world. So remember, you are unique and valuable. Take care of that stunning person. Stay strong wherever you're from. You are worthy.